Hey folks, it's Eugene here and welcome to another video. Today what I'm going to be doing is talking to you about the latest release of Vision-3D. We just released version 1.2 and for those of you that are Vision-3D users, it'll pop up automatically and you should be able to install the update. Now, we have made some new additions with features and bug fixes and things like that, so I think it's best that I'm going to go through a relatively detailed video, probably one of the more detailed videos that I've done, and based on this I'll show you what some of the new features are. And I can't go through all the bug fixes and things, but let's focus in on a new project. And this is just something on screen now that I was working on, but I think it'll give you an idea of where we're heading. So to start off with, some of the things that we have done are improved the render engine, and we can now bring in larger point clouds, which is great. So before we were kind of limited once you got to 50 million points or something like that. And it was also dependent a lot on your hardware. Now we have a couple of options, and one is right off the bat, you're going to see better performance. The second thing is you can also decimate the point clouds, a kind of subsample if I were to refer to cloud compare terminology, but let's get to it and I'll show you a couple of examples, and then we'll come into a project like this and we'll set something up right from scratch, and I'll go through a number of different features and properties and things like that. So I'm going to create a new project. I'm going to just click on the top right here. And this is in meters. I'm going to go Z up right-handed. So one new thing that we have added here is the ability to have different types of coordinate systems. So if it's a Y up or Z up, I'm used to right-handed Z up type systems. That's very common with even like terrestrial laser scanner data, but there are a lot of models that come up with Y up right-handed. So I may even show that to you in one of the models that I'm going to be importing. So I'm going to stick with the Z up right-handed for now, and I'll go ahead and create. So it's going to wipe everything out here. Now, let's go ahead and bring in some models and see what we got. So the first thing is I'm going to bring in a very large point cloud. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go into the references, and I've got this one here that says hospital. So it's 2.2 gigs, and I'm going to go ahead right off the bat and bring it in. Now, I know that this point cloud is a little over 100 million points, and normally if we were to bring this inside of Vision-3D, it'd probably really start to choke. The performance wouldn't be that great. And when you're manipulating and clicking on the mouse and trying to rotate around and that sort of thing, it just gets really clunky. So we have a new little import window here that you're seeing. It's giving you the percentage of loading. And once that is complete, you're going to get the little pop-up window. And that pop-up window has changed now because there are some additional features. And so in a second here, I'm going to show you that. So here it goes. It's going to be coming up in a moment here. And there you go. So if I rotate around, you'll see that I've got this point cloud. And if you look down here, it gives me the location. It tells me that it's in meters. It's Z up right-handed. And there's also this center on origin. So if I uncheck this, okay, it changes the position of the point cloud relative to the origin. So if I have it off right now, you can see that this is the origin and it's pretty far away. So it looks like it's well below the 000 point of the coordinate system. Well, I'm just going to center it on and just get it closer to the center of the screen. This center on origin is very useful if you have georeference points and they're very, very far away. It's on by default, but if you are bringing in a point cloud that has to be oriented in a certain way, then just uncheck it, and it'll basically keep the original coordinates of the point cloud. Okay. This window here, up top, I should say, this little field, is where you would decimate or subsample the point cloud. So right now it's set to a 1 centimeter, decimation or spacing, and it says import full or downsampled. So if I click on full right now, it won't do anything. But if I click on this downsampled one, it will, if I click on add after it's done, it will add the downsampled or subsampled point cloud, but it's also going to give me a preview. So if I put in a big number here, like maybe by accident, I put in 10 centimeters or something like that, and then I click on this little preview by going to downsampled, I'll be able to see, hey, that's a little bit coarse and I want a little bit finer detail. I can just come back, tweak it again, and then refresh it. It'll recalculate the new downsampling and then display it to you again. So this should pop up in a second here. It does take a little bit of time. It's obviously crunching through a lot of data, but this is the new data set here. So the 1 centimeter worked out pretty well. I can see it's even in the preview, it's quite fluid. So that for me is going to work out okay. So let's see what happened here. It says that there was a reduction of 53.9%. And I basically went from 100 million points down to about 46 million. Okay. So that's not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and click on add, and it's going to take a second here. It will import the model, and then I'll just show you that, you can import and decimate 3D data just like this. And you can see it's really fluid now because it has been decimated. You'll also notice that as you're rotating, the point cloud gets decimated, and as soon as I let go, okay, it snaps back to a denser point cloud. So I'm not going to belabor the point here. Just know that when you are importing a point cloud, you now have the option to decimate, which means we can handle larger point clouds. And although I've got, I've reduced this to, 46 million points or something like that, even if it was at 60, 70, 80 million, you are going to notice a much better performance. And we will continue to improve that as things move forward. Okay, I'm good with that. So I'm going to get out of this one and just create a new project. Same thing, meters, right-handed. And on this one, I think what I'm going to do is bring in some OBJ files. So I brought in a point cloud. Now what I'm going to do is bring in some 3D models. So I've got a motorbike. Let's bring that in. This is an OBJ file. So it's not that big, so it'll pop up pretty quick here. Now, this is an important point. Some OBJ models have different components to them, or they're segmented into different groups. And what you can do is import each part of those segments separately, or you can import it all as one group. And I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take the whole thing and say, yeah, hey, just make it one big group, and I'm good with that. So here you can see that I've got the overall point cloud, but you see this thing is doing a wheelie here. So it's got the front wheel pointing up. Well, there's obviously some issues with the left hand versus right hand system. And also this is now in millimeters. So does that seem correct? So if I zoom in down here, yeah, that actually does. That's about a meter. So it's about 809 millimeters. That's okay. I think the scaling is correct. And then the object coordinate system. This one here appears to be in a Y up right-handed. And you'll see when I click on that, these little axes down here will flip, and it appears like, the up is now the Y, which is good. This is exactly what I want. Now, this has smaller coordinates. I didn't center on the origin. It's a little bit above, but if I go center on origin, you'll see now it's at the center of the bounding box, let's say, for this particular model. So it doesn't matter. This is a smaller model, so it's not a big deal. I could leave it down here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on add. And there was a little bug previously where you would bring in multiple OBJ files with textures. There would be some problems. So just to show you and prove that it works, I'm going to go back in and I'll just bring in something else. There's another model here that I've got. I'm going to import this as a group, and okay, there we go. So this looks like it's also Y up right-handed. There we go. It's in millimeters. So that's about 4.5 meters. That seems right. Let me center this one on the origin, and let me go ahead and click on add, and let's see what happens. Yep. So we got this one in. So basically, you can manipulate these models using these controllers that are here with the arrows and the little rotation controllers. But you can see that it's working, and just by moving them around, you can orient these two however you want. But the other important point here is the fact that you can see the textures very clearly. Getting into some more little details here, if you get into the settings page, so we don't have like a file settings or not like you would normally think. So here it says preferences. These are different preferences. The settings for this particular project are just right here. Very simple. Just click on settings, and then you get a bunch of options down here. And if you see here, it says enable scene lighting. If I click on this, you notice there was a little flicker here, but I can do some different things where I can increase or decrease the scene lighting. I can change the elevation, change the angle at which the sun is sort of hitting here. So there's some interesting things you can do with the color. So there's some flexibility there in terms of the presentation and the way that you want to sort of customize the look of your models. Okay, so that's another thing, and knock that one off the list. I think what I want to do now is actually go in and create a sort of a package from scratch, and I've got some models that that I can use here for that one. So let me go ahead and make a new scene. I'm going to go ahead and create. I'm going to use the Z up right-handed again and meters, and let's bring in a point cloud. So we're going to bring in one point cloud, and to start with, I'm going to use the parking lot. Let's see. So this is a scan that was done with Recon3D. So I know it's in meters, and I know that it's a Z up right-handed system, and it'll give me a preview here. I don't recall the size, but it says it's like 26, 27 million points, and there you go. Okay, so I'm not going to subsample this or do anything. I am going to center it on the origin. That's fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on Add. Perfect. Okay. So let's show you another tool here. So one thing you'll notice is I've got this grid, and just below it, right, if I look at it below, you'll see that the ground is below the grid. So there's some simple tools for repositioning a point cloud so that it's sort of level with the ground plane. And what I need to do is choose one of these two tools up here. I'm just moving my mouse around. This one on the right here, okay, it says select a point to align the object to the world ground plane. If I click on that, whatever point that I click on, it's basically going to zero the Z value, okay, or that vertical value. So if I click on here, basically this point has now been zeroed, and you can see that we've lifted this thing up a little bit. Now, if I click on this and drop it down again, another thing I can do is I can use this here to not only zero it, but make the X and Y axes 0, 0, 0. So as an example, if I have an important point that might be important as a 0 point, a reference point, maybe it's this corner point here. I click on this one here, and I'm just going to click on the corner here. Okay, there we go. And you'll notice that it jumped. So what that means is this corner, and you can see the axes where they are too, has become the new 0, 0, 0 of the coordinate system, okay, of the world coordinate system. So it's aligned in a different way. Okay, so that's good there. I've got this point cloud in. Let's bring in a point cloud of a vehicle. And this was done at a different time. So this is a Mercedes-Benz that was done also with Recon3D. It's Z up right-handed meters. I don't need to decimate. It's only like 7 million points. So let me go ahead and knock that in here. Okay, so this one is centered at the origin, and what I'm going to do is I know where this goes because it has the same. Let me lift it up. You see, it's kind of in the same location. It has the corner here, and what I need to do is align these two. So I'm just going to use these controllers here, just roughly right now, and sort of stretch things and push them over. Get this down to the ground plane. Again, if I wanted to do this quickly, I could say, hey, push this point down to the ground plane, and then here you go. So I'm getting closer already. Now I can see there's a parking line here, and so I need to move things over. Let me do that for a start. And of course, I'm not aligned on this side. Let me just tuck that over a little bit. And I think I need to rotate this a little bit just to get it to align a tiny bit better. And I could probably spend a lot of time here doing a little bit of tweaking and aligning, but these lines are fairly close here. You can see that they align pretty well. I could probably tweak it a tiny bit more, something like that. And yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so I can probably adjust the vertical height a bit or something, but you get the idea. Just by using the simple controllers, okay, on this particular scan, I can make the adjustments. And don't forget that when I have the point cloud selected, you have the position and rotation controllers down here too. So you can, in fact, change very, very precisely, what the position and rotation of the scan is going to be. Okay, so don't forget, you always have, and it's an important point. Look at the properties. When you click on this, go into the property view, check to see what's available, and this will give you some additional information. Okay, so that's aligned. Now what we want to do is we want to go through all the different things that we can add to this thing. So media, pictures, pano images, video, measurements, and things like that. So I'm just going to pretty much walk through these series of icons right here. Okay, this is pretty much the whole thing here. And I will dive in a little bit into what you can do with these, with the properties of each one of these. Okay, not that much, but on some of them, maybe a little bit more. Okay, first one is just add point coordinates. So whenever I click on this, and if I just click on the point cloud or any of these models, I basically get the XYZ coordinates. So if these were important to you, where you needed to do some kind of a survey or something like that, these are basically available to you. Now, you'll notice here you have the tag world position and the anchor world position. So what this means is you can raise these up. Okay, I can lift these up and move them around. So I can have the coordinate actually showing at a higher location, but it's anchored to the actual point on the point cloud. And if I go to the anchor point, I'll actually change the coordinates of this particular point. Okay, so if I move this point, let's say in the one of these directions, something like this, you'll see it's moving, but the there's a change in the coordinate as well. Okay. So if I want it to snap to the point cloud, or if I moved it, or even if you make a mistake, you can just delete it. It's not a big deal, and just click on it and create another one. Okay. So I'll leave that one in place. Next one maybe we'll do it in a different location. We will do something out here using the measurement tool. And another thing, a little tidbit here, but whenever you double click on something, it sort of recenters that point in the view. So if I double click here, it recenters, and it also sort of resets the zoom. So if you're ever running out of zoom or whatever, just double click at any point, and that kind of resets things for you. So let's find out how high this wall is here relative to the ground. So I'm going to go to the measurement tool, and let's say I click on the ground here, and then I click up top. Okay, I get this measurement. It tells me it's 7.35 meters. Great. Now, if you have to make adjustments here, I'm going to go to the distance measurement. You look at the properties. I've got P1 and P2. I can make adjustments here if I want a very, very precise sort of positioning of these points, or I can also go in and just kind of click and drag around. I can move this around, and I will change the position of the points. Another thing you can do is you can show the individual components, the horizontal and vertical components. So here it says show components at the bottom. I'm going to click that and scroll down. And you'll see that I've got some numbers. It gives me the horizontal, vertical, and also a couple of angles. So when I get in close, you'll see that the angle here is 81.7 degrees. It's at a height of 1.04 meters. The horizontal component is 7.16. The hypotenuse is 7.24. And the little angle in here is 8.3. So lots of information you can get just from a very, very simple measurement. And in fact, you could almost use this like a bullet trajectory or something. Just set 2 points, click on the components, and it'll give you the angles, which is kind of cool. All right. That's the measurement. And of course, if you're measuring something that's sort of up in the air, or you want a specific location, you could set this to like 0, 0, 0. And then, excuse me, let me go back to the distance measurement. You could set the 0.1 to 0, 0, 0. And then if I wanted exactly, 10 meters in the X, I could just type in 10 meters, 0, 0, and it would basically set an exact, distance if that's what you wanted to show. Okay, good. Let's go on. We're going to do a picture, and I'm going to go back to this blue Mercedes here, and I'm going to double click. Okay, get that in view. And we're just going to start adding a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start with a photograph, and whenever you click on these tags here, it's the same process. You click on it, and then you click on a point where you want to apply it. So I'm going to apply this to the front of the vehicle, and when it does that, it opens up, and I have to navigate to the folder where I have sort of all my pictures and things. So since I'm at the front of the vehicle, I've got a picture from the front, so I'm going to add that one, and I'm going to check it. Sometimes these photos are rotated because they're just taken with a camera on your phone, and you can just adjust it with the controls down here. So that's set. That's going to be the way it is. Maybe I'll do one back here. So let me add another photo, maybe somewhere back here. And do I got a back photo? Well, I got something from the kind of back corner here, so that's okay. I'll leave that one there. So adding photos, really, really simple. Next is going to be the panoramic image. So I'm going to click on that. And I know that I had a tripod set up about here. And for that, I think it's this one here. So I'm going to add this. And it was up on a tripod a little bit high, something like that. If I double click it, yeah, you can sort of get the idea. I can see the panoramic image. Now, if the image is flipped or something, you can use the controls here to sort of reorient it. But normally this is just a simple rectangular panoramic image. So nothing too special about it there. And that was captured from an Insta360. Let me add another one on this side. So I know I had one on this side here, and that one would be this one here. And let's just check it. Let me go up here, double click, and yeah, okay, so we're at the side of the vehicle. Now, another thing you can do, which I think is kind of cool, is you can add an image or a panoramic image in a location that, you actually don't have a point to click on. So let me show you what I mean. I have a panoramic image sort of at the driver's view inside the vehicle. So I don't have good points because I didn't scan the inside of the vehicle, and I was just, scanning the outside, but I can put it into view. So let me get the panoramic image. I'm just going to click close here on the door, and let me get the driver's view. It's this guy here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into position. I'm going to kind of look at the front like that, and I'm going to lift this up about the approximate driver's eye height, something like that. Maybe I'll move it back a tiny bit. All right. Now you can see it has this leader line to the anchor point. And so if I, basically if I click on this and I go down here, I can show the leader line or not. So if I can uncheck it and, oh, hold on a second, I think I got the wrong one. Excuse me. I've got this one down here. It's number 12. So it's show leader line. I'm going to uncheck it and there you go. It disappears. So basically I just have a free floating, panoramic image tag that's at the driver's view. And if I double click it, well, then I get the driver's view from, the approximate eye height and seating position. Okay, great. That's good for the panoramic images. There really isn't a lot more to it than that. It's pretty simple. And I am going to add a video. So video, same idea. Click on the video, click on the point cloud back here. I'm going to add this video. I'll lift it up a bit because I was taken a little bit higher. Double click it and it will automatically launch the video that I've taken here. Okay, so I know that's working. Great. I'm going to close that one. And let's keep moving on. So text. So if I want to add something like a model of the car or something, I can go, Mercedes Benz. Okay, something like that. And let me back this up, save it. And again, I can lift this up just like that. Now, if I hover over the tag, you'll see that it goes and shows me the text. But what I can do is I can always show the text. So it's always sitting there. Okay. And, yeah, you can show the leader line or not. I can shut that off too. So there's a number of things that you can do, with the presentation of text, but that's all I'm going to show you there. The next one is the eyeball, and that is for specific viewpoints. And so let's say there was some interesting things when I'm looking at this vehicle, maybe there's some damage or something like that. So I can go here and say, you know what, this is kind of an interesting view. You click the eyeball. Now, before I click it, you'll notice that when I do click it, there's going to be a little flash. So let me show you what happens. I'm going to click it. Okay, there was a little rectangle that flashed, and hopefully you saw that. But if I back out, there's now a viewpoint that's been established over here, okay, right in this position here. If I double click it, what ends up happening is I fly back into that position. So let me do one over here, maybe from this position, like that. And let me do another one. Okay, I've done it again. So now I have 2 of these positions. So one thing you can do when we finally package this is I can set one of these viewpoints to be the startup position. So let's say I take this viewpoint 16 and I want to set it to be the startup position. What I can do is just go to my settings back up here. And at the very bottom here, if you scroll, it says startup view. And you go viewpoint 16. Okay. So that means that when I start this project, it's going to fly in here. And when I package this as a player, it's going to fly into this particular position as well. Okay, those are viewpoints, pretty simple. And then there's documentation. So with respect to documentation, you can add text documents, PDFs, just about anything you can think of that's a document. Now, the caveat here is that if you're going to be packaging this as a viewer and giving it to somebody, their computer needs to know what those extensions are. So if it's a Word file and it has a doc extension or docx or something like that, it needs to know what that is. So to make your life simple, work with PDF, work with simple file extensions that will work. If you put some kind of a proprietary format here, it probably won't work all that well. Okay. So, let me just get a document. I'll just put it on the very top here and let's bring up the, maybe the owner's manual here or yeah, that's what we'll do. Owner's manual. And if I double click that, let's see if that works. That should launch the PDF viewer. Okay. There you go. So it does. Okay. Very good. Looks like it's working. Okay. I think that is pretty much it that I want to talk about here. There were some other little small things that you can do, but let's leave it here and let's package this out so we can, send it to somebody as a viewer. So I'm going to save the scene. So I'm going to go File, Save Scene, and I'm just going to save it in here as the Mercedes Benz in the lot. Let's say lot. So I've saved that project file. If I come back to it and I want to make edits, I can do that. And let's see. Actually, there's something else that I'm going to do here. Actually, I didn't show you this one. If you click on the viewpoints, it says show the camera frustum. I'm going to uncheck that. And this way I won't see that little blue frustum. I'm just going to see the tags, the little eyeball tags, which is fine with me. You could leave it in there if you want, but just for the sake of showing you where it is and what it is, that's where you would go, right in the properties. Remember all the time, click on an image or click on a tag, go into its properties, and it'll tell you what you can do and what you can't do. Okay. All right. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, and I'm going to export the scene. Now, when we export this, we've added a couple of options here. One is you can show the project hierarchy. So you have all of these options for hiding and showing things if you want, or you can just hide this whole thing. Okay. It'll end up looking like this. Actually, if I go back here and collapse this, it'll end up being collapsed and you won't be able to open it, or at least the person that's viewing this won't be able to open it. Okay. So I'll leave it off for now. Let's see if I go back into File and export the scene. I'll leave it off. And then you can enable measurements. So there'll be a couple of these measurement icons in the viewer. They'll be grayed out, okay? You won't be allowed to take measurements. So let's leave them off for now. I'm just going to go OK. And I'll leave it in this folder here, and I'll call it the mblot.zip. Okay, so it's going to go ahead and package everything, and it should be ready for me to open or for me to send to somebody else. Now, there are two more things I'm going to show you that I think are pretty cool. And one is that you can export a media list and you can export a measurement list. So the media list, if I take this and I go media, I'll export that one, and then I'll export the measurement list, and I'll show you what they both are. Okay, so I'll just go measurements and go like that. Great. Both are exported, and let me go on my other screen here and bring that up. So the media list is a list of all the different sort of things you've appended to the tags. So JPEGs and panoramic images and things like that. So if you were going to submit something like this to a trial, maybe the attorney needs to understand what all the images and everything else is that you are submitting so they can make sure that it's submitted as evidence. Okay. And it's just a nice list to have. You have a list of everything that you've added. Okay. Pretty simple there. The second one is the measurement list, and basically this is just a summary of all the different things that you have. So we give it the name and then the X, Y, Z coordinates. So we've got, point tag 3, and we've got, a couple of coordinates here. We've got also the distances, and you got your numbers here, your angles and things like that. So this is a good list to get. You get everything sort of packaged and a summary of what all the distances are, kind of like a little summary of a survey of measurements and points. So you get the points and you get the measurements. Okay, so let's have a look now at what we've got in terms of the viewer, because we have this zip file somewhere. And let me see where the heck I put it. Oh yeah. So let me bring this in here. So what I have is this mblot.zip, and I'm going to go ahead and unzip it. So I'm going to go extract, and I'll put it in the same location. It's just going to extract the folder. And when it does, it often auto opens the folder. Okay. And if it does, there you go. Beautiful. So what you'll see here is that I have a batch file, and I also have a bin file. So the bin file basically is all the data that's sort of wrapped up in there, a ton of stuff in there. So you really don't want to make it difficult. Just double click the batch file. That's the bottom line. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to double click the batch file. One thing, just a little warning, if you're using like antivirus software and stuff like that, like I am, sometimes it'll flag and give you like a warning, or it'll stall the opening. And so then I get pop-ups and it says, hey, this is a self-running file or something like that. It's got some issues. And then after a while, it just kind of, takes care of itself. So I think that's what's happening here. I just need to wait for this to let me close this off and see what happens. Make sure this opens. Okay, so this one actually opened. Let me try that again, because I think I want to see it open up without the warning. Let me see if I double click this now, if it's going to give me the warning. No, see, this time it opened up like no problem. And you'll notice that when it opens up, you see it just sort of flies right into position. Looks really, really nice. Okay. Now, this is the viewer. You'll see that we don't have the hierarchy, so we can't see all that stuff. The measurements are grayed out. We are not able to see that, but we can do a couple other things, and that's just like shutting things off and on, like the grid. Okay, we've got tags. We can turn them off and on. If there's a lot of clutter, you can temporarily shut them off. You can even take a screenshot. So if I go back out here like this, and let's say I want to get an overview, something like that. Okay, and then I just want to click on this screenshot, click on it, and then basically it brings open a window. I can give it a name, and then I can just go save as. Okay, so that's a nice little feature too to have. So if you're using this at trial and somebody says, hey, can you save this as a screenshot? No problem. You can definitely go ahead and do that. But just to prove that things are working here, this is the panoramic image. So let me bring that up. That looks good. Working. Beautiful. If we take the PDF document that we had, I'm going to double click that, and there you go. That comes up. If we try to look at the video, I just double click that. That one should work here. Looks good. And so forth and so on. If I click the image at the front, that pops up. And of course, the really good one is the one on the inside, and that's the view from the driver's view. Okay, well, I think that's a pretty thorough enough sort of tutorial, and should give you all the little things that you can do. But remember to always look at that properties box. That's a good reminder to see what it is you can do, and you can explore doing some more different things. But yeah, we've made some improvements. I hope you like Vision-3D. Give it a try, give it a whirl. If you're interested in a demo or a 30-day trial license, just reach out to us on the website. You can go to the Recon3D website. That's recon-3d.com, and just go to the Vision-3D tab, and you can have a look there, and I'll make sure that we post these videos on YouTube and on the website. Thanks, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.